Eat, Sleep, Boxing, Repeat. This is the first betting show that we're doing of 2022, so it's very delighted to be joined, as always, by Paul Kelly. Paul, how are you doing today?
Right, Elliot. Yes, all good. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, really good. All the better now that we're doing these shows on a weekly basis again. It's been a little while. Not There's still not, as we know, no boxing going on in the UK. But there's boxing going on in other parts of the world, and there was a fight going on in the United States this weekend where Gary Russell Jr. returns to the ring after 2 years out to go up against Mark Magsayo, I think is how you say his surname. I'm not 100% sure about that. Undefeated Filipino, 23-0, 16 knockouts. I've had a look at a couple of highlight reels. Looks really impressive. Looks like he really can punch. And I personally think, although Russell Jr. is the favourite, I think this is an interesting fight because of Russell Jr.'s. He usually spends a lot of time out the ring anyway, but this time it's even more than longer. And I do think Magsayo looks like a real competitor here. What are your thoughts on the fight initially, Paul?
Yeah, I think I kind of echo what you're saying. And Gary Russell's one of those ones where he comes back, has a fight, looks impressive, and you're like, oh, happy days, he's back again. And then he just goes off and
Yeah.
hibernates for another 12 months. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, he is exciting when he fights. I do enjoy watching Gary Russell. And as you say, though, this is I'm not going to try and pronounce his name because I don't want to make a fool of myself. I think you've done a good enough job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that no, it's definitely one of he's very, very, very tough opponent. And on paper, the 16 knockouts in 23 fights down at featherweight, that kind of jumps out at you.
Mm.
There's not very many featherweights with knockout ratios like that. Well, bar obviously your Navarretes and stuff. But yeah, to me, yeah, I think it is a great fight. I think you have to make Russell the favorite, even though it has been 2 years since he last fought. I think just because he's still the champion, and based off his performances when we have seen him, in the ring, he has been good. So I do believe, yeah, he's definitely worthy of being the favorite.
Yeah.
But I do agree. I think it could be a tough night's work, and Knocko is not all plain sailing for sure. Anyway.
I think so. Cool. So we'll get right into it then. Give me your betting tip for this weekend's fight, Paul.
So my tip on that fight would be, although Magyaso or whatever, I said I wasn't going to say his name, but anyway,
Got that.
although he is, a knockout artist, and does look like a tough opponent, undefeated, doesn't know the feeling of losing.
Mm.
I still think Gary Russell will come through.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm not saying I don't think he'll stop. I don't think he'll stop him. So I'm going to go with Gary Russell on points, which is 4-5, so almost evens, which I do believe is quite a good price. I think there might be some hairy moments for Russell during the fight. I'm not saying he will have to get off the canvas, but you never know with a guy with the power of his opponent. He might have to, and he'll definitely eat some shots. It's just whether he can kind of walk through them, box on the outside, pepper him with the jab, and score and just pick up rounds, which I think Gary Russell will do. So yeah, 4-5 for Gary Russell to win by unanimous decision on points is my tip.
Yeah, I think that's most likely to happen. I think Gary Russell Jr. I think people get a bit frustrated, as we mentioned. He doesn't fight too much, but he is a class act, and I think most people would agree he would possibly be too much for his opponent this weekend. However, I just think that he's used to being out of the ring for a year. He's kind of used to that now. He's been doing that for years, but 2 years out of the ring, I think it's a different kettle of fish. I think it can be a different story. And I think he's going up against someone who's been active during COVID, who's several years younger than him, as you mentioned, can punch a bit. So although I think I'd edge towards Russell Jr. in this fight, I think he will win on points, but I think it will be close. I'm looking at odds of 9-2 for Magsayo to win by stoppage. So that means if you put a tenner on it, you receive £55 back. In my opinion, if he's going to win this fight, I think it's stoppage. I don't think he's going to win on points over 12 rounds. So that's my tip in response. Not my prediction, but I think 9-2 for a puncher, for someone who's going up against someone who's been out the ring for so long. 9-2, not bad, not bad odds at all if you're feeling adventurous.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. But, if you are a fan of the underdog,
Mm.
and you do really believe that just 2 years is too long for Gary Russell, I think 92 is a great price. I was funny. I was listening. Well, just mention one more thing. I was listening to. I'll not take the credit for this because it wasn't me, but I was listening to the Fight Disciples podcast, and they were laughing about and talking about Gary Russell and his inactivity. So he became champion 7 years ago,
Yeah,
and I think he's fought 6 times, or this is going to be his sixth fight in 7 years. And in that time, one of the other featherweight champions, in Emmanuel Navarrete, has fought 25 times.
no way. That's mental, isn't it?
So what,
That's
18
crazy.
fights more than Russell in that time period? It's
Yeah,
absolutely crazy.
yeah. I read earlier Russell Jr. is the longest reigning male world champion, which is an achievement, but when you've not fought that much, it's not as impressive
Yeah.
as it sounds. But yeah, strange that he just doesn't fight that much. I believe he's 33 now, so he might only have a couple of fights left. Who knows? But no, it's a fun fact, and yeah, we will see. You never know. Maybe Russell Jr. will win on Saturday, and then we'll be seeing him again in the summer. But probably not. Cool. Was there anything on the undercard that's caught your attraction at all, Paul?
So I'm not going to sit here and say that I know every single fighter on the undercard. I'm sure you're the same as well. But the one that does interest me was, I think it's pronounced Subriel Matthias against Petros Ananyan. And this is actually the second fight between the pair. And they fought in February 2020. And Ananyan won on points. Now, that was 2 years ago. And at the time, Matthias he was on this big knockout run, and he still is. He's 17-1, Matthias, with all 17 wins coming by knockout. However, and he is the favourite, he's 2-9 or something like that, or 2-7 to win the fight. However, I do think, how often do you think, you know what, if the guy's already beaten him once, he can do it again? And it's only 2 years ago. It's not like, the fight was 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and he's maybe over the hill now, picked up a load of losses in between. Neither man has lost since. So I'm thinking that although I don't know a huge lot about the pair, Ananyan to win again is 3-1. Considering he's already done it once, I think that 3-1 is quite a generous price. Considering he's been there and done that and kind of knows how to beat Matthias. And if you really want to be bold, I think points would be the most likely outcome, which is 11-2.
Fine, yeah, 11-2. I can't really argue with that. I think you make a good point when you said the fight was 2 years ago, so it's not like the fights are going to be changed drastically then. Kind of heard of Matthias. I remember when he beat Malik Hawkins a year or so ago, which was seen as kind of a 50-50 fight, and he did quite a good job on him. Obviously, yeah, big puncher. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't think those are bad. I don't think those are bad odds at all for someone who's already beaten him on points. But just read that Anayan got knockdown in the fight as well. So yeah, got a knockdown and unanimous decision. So why not? Could happen. But
absolutely.
But yeah, just nice to have some fights to look forward to again. Some odds to discuss. All right, Paul. Well, yeah, thanks as always. Yeah, thanks for the undercard tip. Thanks for the main event tip as well. And yeah, looking forward to seeing what happens on Saturday night. And we'll speak to you again soon.
Yes, thanks, Elliot. All the best.